you call your president, right, or your state legislator, or the mayor, or the city council. Well, the closer you get to yourself to make a petition or a call or write a letter or utter a complaint, the more value it has. Sending something to Chuck Fleischman by way of a grumble on a particular bill or a measure is really pointless. You just turn into a check mark in either one column or another, either the yay column or the nay column on a particular bill. He gets a report about that. He doesn't see it at all unless it's particularly articulate or a good example that the staff picks to show Chuck. But if it's a local official, then he's going to pay attention to what you say. And the reason a local official will pay attention is because he gets very little feedback. Local officials get generally little feedback on the issues of the day. Now, Darren Ledford, who ran for city council and got on, has been researching the prospect of a free market in short-term vacation rentals, Airbnb, and he said 500 people have expressed objections to him. So he has been out there, and people have been answering questions to him. But that is more because he's soliciting an opinion, and I'd say there's a reason that he should ignore these objections, because partly because we have constitutional rights to property, and Darren should consider that first, and not grumblings of people who are not really that informed when he asks the question, do you favor short-term vacation rentals? And then describes how that works, because your description can give the answer that you want, or maybe the answer that you don't want, depending. Now, we have here an issue, which is police reform that is something that's in front of us. And I want to tell you about a man who has a Samsung smartphone. His name is Larry, and as he explains it in a filing Monday, he a day after he sent a letter to an important official, he had sent a letter to Representative David Tulis, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, called Exhibit C, regarding FBI cover-up of evidence submitted by a whistleblower. Larry got a software update from his Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge Verizon cellular phone. All right, so here's Larry's getting an update. Well, after installing the update, he noticed that his phone was acting abnormally, including but not limited to the fact that the battery went down at an exponential rate, as well as other abnormalities. Larry went to the Verizon wireless store A, and then he went to another one B, and the text said that something of this purported software update was amiss. Something was highly suspect, he says. Meanwhile, the whistleblower, whose name is Dennis Montgomery, said that there was a way that malware, that the defendants in a civil lawsuit were using malware to spy on phones, right? So if you're a surveilled person, you're going to have your phone tampered with. Indeed, Larry contacted Samsung and the carrier, Verizon, and they confirmed that neither company had given a software update. And meanwhile, Dennis, he's the whistleblower, he said that strong, rapid battery draining is a telltale sign that you've been hacked, and that malware has been installing itself on your phone. And so after several attempts for this very thing to happen, Larry was forced to buy a new Samsung Galaxy S8 phone. As recently as May, Larry again says his phone was acting abnormally, and not limited to the battery draining at an exponential rate, but it gets even better. There's the erasing and downloading of files all by itself, and without his consent, without him pushing any buttons. His phone is discharging and absorbing files. He takes the phone to another Verizon wireless store, and the technicians there say, "Well, you're right, Larry. This phone's not acting like it's supposed to." And we hear in this filing that indeed WikiLeaks revealed that the defendants, including the CIA, developed malware with names such as Assassin and Medusa that attach themselves to iPhones and Androids, smart TVs, Microsoft, Macs, Linux operating systems, among others. And in fact, there's an entire unit at the CIA devoted to inventing programs that hack data from Apple products. Now, Larry is Larry Klayman. He is the head of Judicial Watch, which is a very wonderful organization, and it has been involved in hundreds of lawsuits against the Yankees and their people. And the litigation filed Monday against the CIA, James Clapper, and Dan Coates as the National Director of Intelligence in Virginia, and Barack Obama, Mike Pompeo, who's the current head of the CIA, named by President Trump, and John Brennan. Also, these are all individually sued as the past director of the CIA, as well as the NSA and the director of the NSA, and his name is Michael Rogers, and the FBI. They're all being sued for violating the Constitution and tortiously surveilling Larry Klayman of Judicial Watch. And they say, for example, in this case, that they acted outside the scope of their employment in their personal capacities and through their surrogates still embedded in the Trump administration, the Obama deep state, as this lawsuit says, to illegally and unconstitutionally spy on millions of Americans, including the plaintiffs, without probable cause or warrant. And Clapper and Brennan's pattern and practice of conducting, as they say, illegal, unconstitutional surveillance against millions of Americans, including prominent Americans, and this is a troubling list here, such as the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, that's Justice Roberts, other justices, 156 judges, prominent businessmen, and others. Would that be you, maybe? Such as Donald Trump, as well as the plaintiffs. And thus the FBI, under the leadership of and at the direction of the defendant Comey, he's also mentioned here, has engaged in a massive scheme to cover up the fact that defendants NSA, CIA, DNI, and their respective directors and leaders, as well as defendants Obama, Brennan, Clapper, Rogers, and Coates, have continued to engage in ongoing unlawful and unconstitutional mass surveillance. In short, the FBI, under defendant Comey, who's testifying, he's going to be testifying in about 15 minutes. Okay, he's going to be testifying. Everybody in Washington is stopping what they're doing to hear pal Comey testify. Itself collaborates with and continues to collaborate with the defendant's spy agencies to conduct illegal spying. And so Larry Klayman has been hacked. He's been spied upon. And I bring this up because I want you to consider the story, right? We consider the story and we are grieved at it, and rightly so. But the question is, do we just be angry at these kinds of things, or do we build and rebuild here? Do we understand the problem of the state, the deep state? And in fact, in Tennessee, we have a deep state as well. And this touches on the religious corporation, which is the state, which is something apart from, it is an identity, a nexus apart from state government. Okay, it is in state government, and yet it interpenetrates with it. It is separate from, distinct from, and yet a whole with. It's in a way, it's like the Trinity in the Godhead. You have God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. They are one God in three persons. So in the deep state construction, as it has risen through the progressive era, through the wartime economies that the state has had to endure, multiple Yankee wars overseas, the deep state, even in Tennessee, has grown itself in courts, through the court system, through the policing system, through the mass surveillance system, now in cooperation with the good people in Washington. Those are called fusion centers. There's a whole universe that you can explore if you want, of these policing and spying agencies that are state and federal. They are trans-jurisdictional, non-jurisdictional. I'd say they're probably an international jurisdiction, under admiralty or maritime jurisdiction. And so they operate on the land. Now, they can't operate on the land legally. And there are grave limitations imposed by the Constitution on federal power on the land, right? It is a maritime power. It is a power of overseas interest, right? You come across this point when you hear reports of, I think today or yesterday, Hawaii signing a climate accord agreement with China. Hawaii can't do that legally because it doesn't have international jurisdiction. It doesn't have jurisdiction of the sea, only of the land, right? Even though it's an island, it has only land jurisdiction. And yet the federal government claims to have both. It claims to have Yankee sea time jurisdiction, dealing with international trade and the dealing with other nations, and also jurisdiction on the land. And that's through activities that it claims to regulate, such as the use of phones or mails. Those are crossing state lines, and thereby giving the good people authority to prosecute and hound and survey, that kind of thing. Well, I bring this up. I want to get to my point. The point I'm trying to get to is we see these things and we ask, what can we do here? I bring up the Larry Klayman lawsuit filed Monday on behalf of himself and the whistleblower Dennis Montgomery. I bring that up because I want you to be angry. Okay, I want you to be frustrated and angry. But I want you now. Okay, now that we understand that we have the same idea about it. We want to turn to what we can actually do in the same direction. Right? We can't take part in that. In that case, we could maybe give a donation to Judicial Watch, which might be a good thing to do. But we really can't stop those things. But what can we stop? Are there evils that are mirrors? Can we enter the Hall of Mirrors and fight ones that are closer to us that represent the larger, right? If we get this committee formed by Andy Burke, if we get the members, though three are pro-state, pro-prosecution, pro-police, if we can get the other three to share in the interest of the common man, then we are doing some good. My interest is in lococentrism. My interest is here at Nooga Radio, on Facebook at Nooga Radio, and on YouTube at Hot News Talk Radio channel. Our interest is in getting things done locally and being lococentric, thinking locally and acting locally, loving our neighbors, buying local, loving our neighbors, and saving local lives, saving local abuse, saving local children whose parents are in the jail because they can't pay their bond. Okay, they can't pay their bond. They have an overdue fine and they are trapped. 800-8949, 800-8949. If we act locally to stop the abuses mirrored in the national economy, in the Larry Klayman story, we can resist indirectly. Okay, we fight by obliquity. We fight indirectly. If you, my listener, and I care about things going on in Washington, which we obsess over, right? If we obsess over what's happening in Washington, our foreign wars, our lawlessness, government as anarchy, right? We have the anarchy argument is by the state. The anarchist is not the private Molotov bomb thrower. It is the state itself. The anarchy, the liquidating violence is in the state. It is not in the private sector. It is not among gang members in Chattanooga. The gangs in Chattanooga are harmless. Effectively, they're no threat to you. They are a threat because they're not very good shots, and so sometimes they hit innocent people. But they're not a threat to you. If anything, they're a threat among themselves. But they're not a threat to you, my listener. Okay, so don't be afraid of gangs. The gang problem is not the thing to be afraid of. The thing to be afraid of is Washington, and then Mayor Andy Burke. Mayor Andy Burke, I think, is someone we should be afraid of because he controls the police. And he controls who the chief of police will be. That agency serves him. It is an executive agency. It is a directing, executing agency. Right? That's what the executive means. He executes things. So the police execute law. They execute statute. Rightly or wrongly, they execute it now. For now, until some kind of litigation can bring that change about, pursuant to the case City of Chattanooga versus Davis. If Marceau is right, if he's right, then things will stop. But reform has to come locally. So that's why I think it matters. If people are Christians, they should pray for this committee. They should pray for arrival of candidates who believe in reform. Reform has four legs, okay? The four legs of reform are the proper use of cover, time, and space. And then the fourth leg is demilitarization and de-escalation. Now, the de-escalation simply means that we take our time, right? We don't make it happen now. We don't draw lines in the sand. The lines in the sand theory, the kill zone theory, the do anything you can to get home at night theory. These are all popular premises of police officers trained in from the beginning. You're trained as a police officer to do anything you can to get home at night. It doesn't matter even that you killed Javario Eagle in a fusillade of bullets, right? He did not have to die. And yet all these men who got some psychological counseling after killing him on the police force, they are innocent, right? Everybody's been continually cleared of killings of people who don't need to die, people who have not done anything worthy of capital punishment. The training system that we have, kept there by Fred Fletcher, kept there by Andy Burke, is not caring about innocent human life. 25% of the people who deal with police are mentally unstable. According to the Police Executive Research Forum, the Chuck Wexler paper, about 25% of the 990 fatal officer-involved shootings in 2015, the subject displayed mental illness. Okay, so that takes about a fourth of them right there. Someone who's not mentally straight loses his life for wielding a 2-inch knife. Thrusting a 2-inch knife at an officer who's 40 feet away does not deserve the death penalty. Okay, murder deserves the death penalty. Buggery maybe, adultery maybe, rape may certainly. Other things deserve the death penalty. Inflation, that deserves the death penalty too, according to our 1792 statute on the currency. But not thrusting a 2-inch blade at an officer who's armored like a tank 40 feet away. That's not sufficient warrant. This report says that in 16% of the cases, the subject is armed with a knife, right? 16% of the people who are killed have a knife only. 9% are unarmed, and 5% are armed with the vehicle. And in many cases that we've seen, the vehicle is not even aimed at the officer. It's driving away from the officer. How many shootings do we have into vehicles where the officer is not even likely to be hit by the car, even if it careens out of control because the driver has a bullet in his temple? Well, we have a problem in Chattanooga. And the problem is indifference to the use of force, the use of violence. If you go to Nooganomics.com, our chief sponsor here on the David Tulis program, you can read a story that came out on Memorial Day about how Chattanooga can become a great and prosperous city. It can become great and prosperous if it reduces the quotient of violence operating within the city limits and within the county limits. The violence is the official violence of the officer. We, in a way, are occupied by the police departments of our respective cities. Chattanooga, Red Bank, Saudi Daisy, East Ridge. They all have these occupation machines, which are military in bearing, hiring mostly military veterans. And for example, Phil Hamrick, the chief in Saudi Daisy, has been overseas on a military mission. He's just come back and had Jeff Gann take his number 2 spot again. And there he is. He's a military man who speaks very guardedly about what he did in the Mideast. Well, that's fine, and I'm sure that in Phil Hamrick's case, all is well. But looking generally, we want to have people who are identifying with the people whom they protect, right? Ostensibly, they protect them. And so it's good, for example, that in Saudi Daisy, I think probably most of the officers are from Saudi Daisy. They went to Saudi Daisy High School. They are local. They know local people. They're very familiar with the patterns and rhythms of that little town with its one main street, that is to say, Dayton Boulevard. There needs to be an identification between peace and peacekeeping functions and the guarded use of lethal force and the people. We do not need to be occupied by strangers. We do not need to have troops marching in Kandahar and then troops marching in Red Bank. That's not good for peace. That's not good for prosperity. We'll have more prosperity if we reduce the quotient of force. And I think that should touch also the use of force by ordinance. The city council is weighing an ordinance that will apply force against hundreds and thousands of homeowners in Chattanooga who will be forbidden to enter into free market contractual relationships with groups such as Airbnb, those providers of guests, right? People who bring guests to your house to stay and pay you to stay there. That whole marketplace is going to be overthrown if the map by Chip Henderson, which everyone on the city council seems to agree with, goes into effect. What needs to happen? The city should say, we take our hands off of force. We're not going to use force. Our hands are open. Our hands say, come here, come to Chattanooga. See, no blood, no force, no threat, no coercion. David Tulis.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
iBuyChattanoogaHouses.com, Chattanooga's premier house buyer. Do you have a house you need to sell fast? We are buying. Call us today. We are local folks. We will buy your house as is, no repairs needed. We will give you a cash offer and close on the day of your choice. Call us right now, 423-834-7321. Need to sell a house fast? We are buying. Are you experiencing one of these situations? Inherited a house you have no need for? Behind on your property taxes? Nightmare tenants making your life miserable? Too many repairs needed and don't have a desire to fix? Behind on payments and facing foreclosure? Recently divorced and need a way out of the house? Never really wanted to be a landlord and just want to cash out? Trying to relocate and need to sell your house? Do you need to sell a house fast? We are buying. No fees, no hassles, no repair cost. Close on the day of your choice. Our process is simple. Call us today. We inspect your property right away. We make you a fair cash offer. We close on the day of your choice. Call us today, 423-834-7321. Visit our website, iBuyChattanoogaHouses.com. Call us today, 423-834-7321. iBuyChattanoogaHouses.com. He stole out so much cash, such a huge mountain of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis. You know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling. Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is. Brainerd Road. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
Are you shovel ready to build a house, but you're not a builder? Are you shovel ready? Michael's Homes is ready to bulldoze its way to a solution for you. You have ideas on what you want in a house, but you're looking for someone to bring your ideas into a plan and turn your plan into a house. Michael's Homes, custom builder. Michael's Homes has lots available at a new subdivision, River Bay Estates, that's Harrison. Maybe River Watch in Saudi Daisy. Choices galore, lots, houses, beautiful homes all over Chattanooga. The Canyons, Hickson, Crystal Brook, Appleton. Drive in, take a look, consult with us. We build on your lot or ours. Homes-Chattanooga.com.
Call 423-413-9929.
It is Eric Jones hard into the outside wall, and they are still 3 and 4 wide. It looks like we're racing at Talladega.
Caution flag is out. It looked like Denny Hamlin was trying to get by Ricky Stenhouse. Got into the back of Ricky at the line. Man, that's a close one. Matt Kenseth wins stage 1.
Green checkered flag is out, and Brad Keselowski has won stage 2.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. into the wall. That will bring out the caution. Caution waving once again. And again, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved.
Oh, trouble. Ty Dillon has gotten turned to the inside of the racetrack, and Clint Boyer has just nailed him.
Matt Kenseth falling back. The field storming by. Something wrong. Now we see sparks from Kenseth's Toyota.
Larson chucks him off. Coming off turn number 2. Nose to tail. Now it's Logano to the high side in 3.
Joey Logano, a winner here at the Richmond International Raceway.
Here at Live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
The voice of NASCAR.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect a nice, pleasant start to your Thursday, but more clouds will be around. Could even see a spotty shower or two pass through. Not bad, though. High staying into the upper 70s tonight. Becoming fair late. Lows back into the upper 50s. Friday, a great-looking day. Lots of sun. Highs lower 80s. Dry and warmer for the weekend. Get the JCPenney's Friends and Family event right now and save up to 30% throughout the store. Come in and find the perfect gifts for Dad this Father's Day. That's getting your pennies worth at JCPenney. And I'm Smorgene Twelve, Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
WBLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga, WSDT Saudi Daisy Chattanooga.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. Former FBI Director James Comey is expected to begin his anxiously awaited testimony to the Senate Intelligence Committee a short time from now. But the essence of what he'll say is already out. CBS's Stephen Portnoy has the key points of Comey's prepared remarks.
He'll tell senators he did inform the president that the FBI wasn't personally investigating him. Still, Comey will say Mr. Trump urged him in late March to lift the cloud of the Russia probe, and then called him again 12 days later to ask what he'd done in response to that request.
CBS News correspondent Margaret Brennan takes a look at where Comey's account could lead.
His testimony today will be closely scrutinized to see if, as Democrats allege, President Trump's ultimate goal was to end the Russia investigation. So the question today will center on whether the president intended to obstruct justice or whether these conversations were simply inappropriate.
CBS's Steve Dorsey is on Capitol Hill.
It's the hottest ticket in town. Security has tightened around the Hart Senate office building where the hearing will play out as visitors line up outside to claim a seat. Spectators began lining up just after midnight. Some bars have opened early for folks who want to watch the hearing on TV over morning drinks.
A Trump fast response team is standing by to rebut Comey, and a group that supports the president has already released a Comey attack ad.
James Comey, just another D.C. insider, only in it for himself.
President Trump and his outside legal counsel, Mark Kasowitz, are watching Comey's testimony at the White House. Overseas, British voters are going to the polls in a parliamentary election that could be closer than first expected. Prime Minister Theresa May's Conservatives are still favored to win, but the Labour Party leader, Jeremy Corbyn, told his supporters he's got a shot.
Thank you very much, all of you, for coming here today. It's a day of our democracy. I've just voted. I'm very proud of our campaign.
A newly elected member of Congress has made his peace with the reporter he roughed up. CBS's Peter King has that.
This is what happened just before Montana Republican Greg Gianforte was elected.
I'm sick and tired of you guys. The last time you came here, you did the same thing. Get the hell out of here.
Now Gianforte has settled with the reporter he body slammed last month. He's apologized. He says he takes full responsibility. He'll also donate $50,000 to a journalism advocacy group. Guardian reporter Ben Jacobs has agreed not to sue Gianforte, who will plead no contest to a misdemeanor assault charge. Peter King, CBS News.
Think twice, 'cause it's another day for you and me in paradise.
This wasn't exactly a day in paradise for Phil Collins. He's had to cancel a pair of concerts after a spill in his London hotel room that opened a big cut near his eye. Collins hit his head on a chair, according to his manager, and needed stitches to close the wound. In early trading, the Dow Industrials are up 15 points. This is CBS News.
Are you looking for senior care for your mom or dad but don't know where to start? Hi, I'm Jen London with The Place for Mom. Nobody knows your parent or loved one better than you, and nobody knows senior living better than the experts at A Place for Mom. It's a free service, and we've helped thousands of families find the right place for their mom or dad. There's a place for answers, A Place for Mom. Call today.
Call A Place for Mom at 1-800-379-1174. That's 1-800-379-1174.
Does your basement or crawl space have damp, musty odors? Do you worry about indoor gases and pollutants? Everyday living generates moisture that can nourish mold and odors, even asthmatic triggers. Indoor pollutants linked to respiratory ailments, birth defects, and cancers can become trapped in your home. You can't buy health, but you can buy Wave's moisture control and air quality products. Wave Home Solutions for a dry, healthy home. Satisfaction guaranteed. Go to dryhome123.com. That's dryhome123.com.
On the CBS Health Watch, parents are getting a new heads up about an old problem. CBS News correspondent Jim Chenevey has the story.
Parents of a new breed of lice, super lice, that are resistant to the over-the-counter treatments that have been used for years. According to a report published in the Journal of Medical Entomology, 98% of the head lice collected in 48 states were resistant to lice treatment products. And for that reason, lice are spreading fast among children because they play in close proximity, play video games, have sleepovers. Today's best course of action, a trip to the doctor for a prescription treatment that works. Jim Chenevey, CBS News.
The Golden State Warriors hold a commanding 3-0 lead in the NBA Finals after rallying to beat the defending champion Cleveland Cavaliers 118-113. Kevin Durant led the late comeback with 14 fourth-quarter points. The Warriors are undefeated in 15 postseason games, an NBA record. Frank Sedefani, CBS News.
Expect lots of sunshine, breezy, and pleasant weather out there through your afternoon. Highs 80 to 82 tonight. Fair, comfortable lows, upper 50s. More clouds will move back in Thursday. Could see a spotty shower or two, but not bad. Highs upper 70s. Lots of sun, lower 80s returning Friday. Do you have a pesky tree that needs to be removed around your home or business? Call Paul Bunyan Tree Service now at 423-421-2104. That's 421-2104. And I'm Swarsheen 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ward. On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
7 have been arrested by the Chattanooga Police Department's Special Victims Unit. They've been conducting a major sweep, tracking down individuals who have outstanding warrants. 7 have been taken in so far, and 6 are still on the loose. A possible blow to short-term rental services like Airbnb, this time in Lookout Mountain, Georgia, where officials are proposing to allow a home-sharing program, but not short-term vacation rentals. Public hearing is set for Tuesday at 5 p.m. next week at the Lookout Mountain City Hall. The proposal would double down on the ban on short-term vacation rental services. Riverside Drive in between Market Street and West Martin Luther King Boulevard still facing closures while repairs are being made. Tennessee company Madison Mill is recalling some 25,000 fold-away safety gates for kids because of a risk of strangulation. Models 23 and 25 affected. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree? Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio. Now, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Tulis.
This is David Tulis, and we're glad you're giving us a couple of minutes of your time. We argue for loving your neighbor, buying local. Near is better than far, small than big, and simple than complex. And down in the footnotes where the good people fight against us and against you and insist on colossalism and progressivism at every turn, they say that corporate is better than personal and that abstract is better than physical. And you say no, you are a dissenter from that theory. This is David Tulis, and we want now to talk about public education, public schools here in Helena County, and the threat of state government to take over 5 what are called priority schools. These are euphemisms that make the schools seem, all the programs about them to seem like they're great successes, and yet they are the laggards in the system. Joanne Favors is a state representative. She took office in 2005. She's a retired associate professor of nursing at Chat State. And after that, she ran a couple of community health centers here in the county. And before these 2 stints at public service, she was from 1998 to 2005 on the county commission. Joanne Favors, what is the situation with these 5 schools and the states sort of standing over the operators of that school system here in the county? What are you concerned about? What are the problems and what are the remedies?
Well, first of all, I'm concerned, and thank you for having me on the show today. But first of all, I'm concerned because the current statute, the state law does not allow this. This cannot take place. It cannot come to fruition unless the law changes. That's one thing that has not been addressed to the public. What concerns me is that it's happened very rapidly. There's not been an opportunity for parental involvement. Also, community supporters of public education, the citizens in the community where the 5 schools are located have not had an adequate opportunity to understand what the process is and what to expect and any adverse consequences related to this. And having been a supporter of public education all of my life and also healthcare issues too, I couldn't help but be concerned about this because I found out about it when some of my constituents called me in Nashville to tell me about it and inquire about it, and I did not know what was taking place. And I read the article in the newspaper and was very concerned because I was not aware of what was taking place, even though this was a state plan, a state proposal. So I did talk with Commissioner McQueen and was invited to come to the next meeting that she had here in Hamilton County. And some of the issues that I was concerned about, I went online and I contacted people I knew throughout the county and the nation who were involved in school reform. And you have to look very carefully when you see something about school reform. We know that charter schools have been in existence for about 25 years, and all of this partnership is referred to as the third way, W-A-Y, the third way. We have the charter schools, vouchers, and this is the third way, the partnership. And what was the concern for many of my constituents, parents, educators, and myself, was that this proposal would separate these schools into a district of its own, and they would not be responsible to the current elected school board, but they would have their own board that 60% of the members of that new board would be appointed by the state commissioner of education, and the other 40% would be appointed by the school board. And there's no criteria, no rules or regulations or anything to help you to understand what to expect. Commissioner McQueen did say that she was going to put $1 million into a budget to have a year to plan how this would be done. But I am concerned, and I think some of the board members too are concerned, some of the school board members are concerned, because she came with the expectation that they would go ahead and vote to approve or disapprove this in the June board meeting. Now, as we all know, we are experiencing a need for a new superintendent to be selected. So this was unfair, I felt, for her to expect them to do this at that time. And they did express concern. Chairman Hollander expressed concern and asked to have a delay on that. And she has postponed it to July the 28th. And that still is not adequate time. And that is what prompted me to delve into this to see just what was going on. And it really is replicating what is happening in Southfield, Massachusetts. This company that just entered into a contract with Southfield, Massachusetts, with their so-called low-performing schools, 19% of which are minority students. And these students in these 5 schools, I do not feel that this company would have enough experience and expertise. We have many talented people here in Hamilton County. Given the opportunity, they could come up with a proposal to present to the Commission of Education today, if they wanted to, if they had the opportunity to do so. And the law would allow her to approve that. And that is what is a concern of mine. Why would you go out and get people from outside of the county who know absolutely nothing about the Chattanooga school system and then not include them in the current school board?
This is David Tulis, and we're talking with State Representative Joanne Favors about the
two main options proposed for Hamilton County schools. Now, let me just rehearse, Joanne, what I understand to be the main options as discussed in recent press coverage. One is a takeover where these 5 schools will be put into a so-called achievement school district, another euphemism. And the other option is a partnership, and there, as it has been reported, Empower Schools, which is a Massachusetts company, would oversee under a board, the majority of which are appointed by the state, would oversee these 5 schools. Again, it's sort of a soft takeover as opposed to a hard takeover. And then you mentioned also there are other options such as charter schools and vouchers. So what, in your mind, what is the main likelihood that well, I don't know if we should ask about what is likelihood or what the problem is with the statute. You say there's a limit in the statute on what Candace McQueen, the education commissioner, can do. She serves the executive branch. You're in the legislative branch. All of these steps are done under the governor, executing law through his agency, the Department of Education. So there seems to be, I guess, 2 questions. So going back to the Tennessee Code, what in a nutshell is the problem that how does the code limit what's being proposed or forbid what's being proposed?
Well, I have a copy of the code, and there are priority schools, and I'm reading this now, shall be subject to one of the following interventions as determined by the commissioner. Turnaround through a local education agency-led intervention or other school improvement process, a school turnaround under the governance of an LEA innovation zone. That's what these schools are currently in what is called an I zone, which is innovation zone, or they can be placed in district. Now, those were the 2 options that she offered to Hamilton County, the Achievement School District and the partnership. The Achievement School District is a district that was enacted by statute in response to the Race to the Top and No Child Left Behind. All of these terms that have been used that many people do not understand, and that's another reason I wanted to do this. But for all practical purposes, the Achievement School District has been a dismal failure. Just in the last 3 to 4 weeks, the 59 out of 60 employees who were at the administrative and managerial level were terminated. They were given their letters of termination. So for all practical purposes, the Achievement School District is not functional. And so for us to have been given that as an option, I feel was not appropriate.
Who fired these people?
Apparently, the Commissioner McQueen fired them.
Are they state employees or county employees?
They are state employees in the Achievement School District.
Is that is a district, kind of a legal district within Hamilton County?
No, that is a district within the state of Tennessee. And schools that are low performing schools for a certain number of years are can be placed in the Achievement School District. None had been placed in the Achievement School District in Hamilton County. 2 in Nashville, and the other around 40 had been placed in Memphis. But many of these schools, the Achievement School District contracts with charter schools to manage those schools. So all of this is intertwined, and it's very complex, and that is why we need more time. I have asked, and some other community members have asked, for a 1-year moratorium on working through this. If this proposal is to come into fruition, then we need to really understand what is happening, because certainly you would have adverse consequences that if you don't have the opportunity to really investigate. That's what happened with the Achievement School District. It was brought to us in the legislature. We didn't really have enough time to deal with it, and so it was passed reluctantly, but it was passed because we felt, as people said, we have to do something, and that's what I'm not enjoying hearing now. We have to do something. yeah, we do have to do something, but we should know what we're doing. Too much money is being dispensed for us not to know what we're doing. And as I said, we have some very capable educators here in Hamilton County who could come together. We have other groups in Hamilton County, the Public Education Foundation. And I talked with a gentleman out of New York, and he said the best schools really are the magnet schools. And we have magnet schools in Hamilton County. And so that was the purpose of having the very first magnet school, which was Chattanooga School for the Arts and Sciences. And I had a grandson and granddaughter who attended there. But the granddaughter didn't do as well as they wanted her to do, so she was dismissed and sent back where she came from. And that's the thing with the charter schools and some of the other schools, that they select the cream of the crop. And it leaves those students that have chronic disabilities and other situations in the regular school system, but they are going to get the same amount of money, funding. And that is so unfair to the already overburdened teachers that we have. See, the real issue we're dealing with now is poverty. It's all related to poverty and the violence. And look at the children who come to school who've witnessed murders and shootings and stayed awake during the night hearing gunshots. So it all is related to poverty. We need to have more counselors and more social workers in our school system. The teachers can't teach for having to call parents about issues that they shouldn't have to be even faced with. So until we do something about that, it will not matter how much money you put in there. If you do not allow the principals, even now, the principals can interview staff, but they can't hire them. They have to be hired through the Hamilton County Central Office.
This is David Tulis, and we're talking with Representative Joanna Favors. She's a widow. Her husband was Nathaniel, and that couple has 4 grown children, 5 grandchildren, and 7 great-grandchildren. Joanna, my listeners' ears perk sharply in one line of comments that you're making here to him here at Nooga Radio, and that is your strong suggestion that there are local solutions and local people can solve these problems. And I think my listener is very sympathetic with it's kind of a resentment that here we have Nashville, we have Candace McQueen swooping in with the solutions that you say lack statutory authority, where the state takes over, the state uses its own districts and kind of strong arms pretended or maybe even real solutions from afar. Why do you think that local people can solve these problems? Who are they, and how would they tell my listener how they would work together, either in the system or parallel to the system, to bring relief and remedies to these 5 public schools?
You know, I, along with so many others, were seeking graduate degrees and bachelor's degrees. And until 1969, we didn't even have a publicly funded school of higher education. And many of us we traveled great distances to acquire graduate degrees and doctoral degrees. And many of our teachers who have doctorate degrees now didn't obtain them locally. They had to leave Chattanooga, travel 3 and 4 times a week, or just take a leave of absence to do that. And many of them went ahead and did it in preparation for wanting to do a tremendously good job. But they are overlooked when you bring in somebody from New York. And the gentleman who is over this program, a very, very wealthy gentleman who is over this Empower Schools, his background is in healthcare technology. He doesn't know anything about education. So why would you overlook the people you have locally who are able to do this?
Right. These local people, as you say, are able to do this. How, that is to say, bring reform, raise test scores, bring more, maybe some sense of peace into the hallways. How would they do this good work?
They could do this good work if they were authorized to do it. We started out I know most people have heard in 2002, No Child Left Behind by President George Bush. Included in that language was expansion of charter schools. And now venture capitalists are involved in charter schools and school vouchers. We see that we have a new Secretary of Education, and that's been her work for many years to expand charter schools, to expand school vouchers. So it leaves you with a feeling of being worried about what is going to happen to our public school system. You can't help but be worried about that. And now there's some disagreement among the billionaires who are venture capitalists because they're disagreeing with our current Secretary of Education about what she's wanting to propose. The president has given her 300 days to propose how she wants to deregulate some of the statutes that are in place now. And most of this was put in place to improve our school system. Not all of it was. And there's always room for improvement, but nothing is perfect. But there's room for improvement. And with the No Child Left Behind, testing was implemented. Children in grades 3 through 8 had to be tested every year in math and reading. And so you created a pile of rejected children because somebody's always going to fail. And remember, in the public schools, if a parent brings a child for the first day of school in February, that principal has to enroll that child because according to the law, they must do it. But if you're going to a charter school or some other private school, they don't accept them. So these principals and teachers are dealing with a lot of issues that many of us as everyday citizens do not understand. But even if you do not have children in the school system now, this is very important to all of us. It is most important. We hear business people saying they can't find qualified people. And part of it is because we have so much catching up to do. As I said, it's only been 1969 that we had the merger of UC and UTC. And even not just African Americans, but the white citizens too did not have access to higher education until 1969. And it takes several generations to get to the level of a place like Atlanta, Nashville, and Memphis, and all those others. And we did not have even a historically Black college in Chattanooga. So we still are trying to catch up.
This is David Tulis, and we're talking with State Representative Joanne Favors. She is Dr. Joanne Favors. She's formerly...
No, not doctor, master's degree.
Master. Okay, you're like me then, master's degree. She's a retired associate professor of nursing at Chat State and has been in the General Assembly since 2005. We're talking about the proposed state takeover. Now, Joanne, I'm going to hold you on. I've got some important messages I want my listener to attend to, but the question that we're going to ask next is about centralization and decentralization. Centralization is what we have. Centralization of the solution here in Howard County for these 5 bad schools. That is the answer from Candace McQueen, the education commissioner. Bring things to the center, bring things under the umbrella of the central authority. But decentralization has many solutions, and we're going to ask Joanne Favors to mull this, and we're going to have her explore the questions about administrative centralization or market-oriented answers, which seem to be implied even in the state system through the charter and voucher plan. But those, I would venture to suggest, don't really free the educational marketplace from the state. David Tulis, we're talking with Joanne Favors. I've got some important messages. We argue here for local economy and the free market. Love your neighbor and buy local. David Tulis, Nooga Radio.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
7 have been arrested by the Chattanooga Police Department